Okay, back 24 hours later, beautiful and hard. So we'll start unwrapping. First job is pull all these Lego blocks off. Yeah, they can be a bit stubborn, but we'll get there. Once we've taken all these off, then we take the tape off. You will see that there's a little bit of spillage, just a little bit of seeps through, but I knew that was going to happen. The amount that seeps through is not really worth worrying about. So anyway, I'll just stop this here and I'll come back in a minute when all the Lego blocks are off. Right, Lego blocks removed. Okay, so tape's the next to come off. That stays there when you pull the blocks off, but it's just a matter of peeling that off. It's already torn on the other side, so a bit of cheating there, but just pull that tape off and your mould is done. Big block. In certain light you can see the master inside. Anyway, now it's time to separate the two pieces of the mould. If the mould releases work properly, it shouldn't be too hard. It does take a bit of muscle, but yeah, I've started one corner here, so and you'll see where all those little nibs that I put in when I did the first part, where they come in handy. Okay, there we go. Two parts are done. That looks pretty good. Obviously you won't be able to tell until I do the first casting how the bodies come out, but anyway, we'll take the master out now so it's nice and flexible. Just pop that out like that. And out comes your master, all in one piece, all good. Ready to put back on the shelf. There's the other part, your first part of the mould, and then we'll do some casting. There's two bits. All those little nibs I did along there, there's now holes along there. So when you put them together, it holds all the sides in nice and tight. That gives you a good consistent thickness on all the walls, so on your sides and everything. So I'll mix up some resin and then we'll pour the first body. Okay, got resin mixed. This is the stuff I use. It's called Procast. It's another Barnes product. I use a fair whack of it. It's all about 10 kilos at a time, but you can buy it 500 mils. Depends on how much casting you do. I obviously do quite a lot. I only mix up enough for the body. I don't like wastage. That could go into other moulds or whatever. I just find the one video that I saw was this guy did a Chevy pickup, about 55 Chevy pickup, and he just totally filled the mould with resin. And these are called squish moulds, obviously you'll see why. But he just filled it up with resin and then just squashed it in there, and just resin went everywhere. And just a total waste. Probably wasted, I don't know, a lot of resin. Anyway, I just use these plastic cups, which you can't get anymore. They're good because you can reuse them. Use a paddle pop stick, mix it up. It's Procast is equal parts by weight. Some of Barnes products are equal weight by measure. Some are, like this rubber is a 10-to-1 ratio, or 100 to 10. So if you put 100 mils of one, you put 10 mils of hardener in it. Anyway, this is starting to go warm in my hand already. I've only been mixing for a little while, so it sets up pretty quick. All right, so that's enough. No great massive amounts of air bubbles in there, so hopefully I won't get a lot of pinholes and stuff. Just pour that in there. Now, on the inside of the body, there is those little tabs I showed you when I was doing the master that hold the interior. So I like to put a little bit of resin in them, otherwise those air bubbles get trapped in there and your little tabs won't come out. So I just put a little bit of resin in there, just like that. Okay, put that in there. Now, it took me a long time to realise this, but you do get little air pockets, even though you tip the resin around inside the mould, you do get little air pockets. Now, the points of where the tail light goes is one, so I just like to get my hand in there, make sure that there's resin up against all surfaces. All around the windows, you can get little air bubbles, which when your master comes out, it comes out as, when your casting comes out, it comes out as a little void, so which you need to fill later, which is, I hate it. That's why I started doing casting, because I hated all the pretty poor castings that were coming out of places. So anyway, and the good thing about this white stuff, you can usually, if you tip it up, you can see whether there's air bubbles stuck in areas. That looks pretty good. So I like to tip the resin down that way, upside down, and just squish it down. Okay, you'll see it coming out the sides. Make sure that those tabs are all locked in, front and back and sides. Make sure they're all locked in. Now, you can see how much wastage that I've got there. That's not a great deal, but it's still enough to be annoying. So what have I got here? A Premier front seat. We just scrape that up. Probably won't be enough, but anyway, here's what it is. Just a demonstration. I've always got little moulds around the place that I scrape up and use the excess for. Doesn't matter whether you get little bits of garbage in it or not. It's it really doesn't matter. Okay, make it sure it's all pressed down nicely and firmly. All right, so I've got enough in there for a front seat for a Premier now. So just squish that in there like that. And yeah, you're gonna have a little bit of wastage. If I could be, you got to be quick too. That's starting to thicken already. So probably not much point in putting that into another mould. The more you do it, the more in and out, the more little air bubbles you get in it, and it becomes aerated, and it's not such a good product. Then it's a little bit, how would you say, a little bit light on, a bit flimsy. Any product that's aerated will break easily and everything. Anyway, that's done. So now, it'll probably be a couple of hours before that'll set up enough to pull out of the mould. You can see it in there. So we'll just let that sit up for a couple of hours. Always use the gloves. Very sticky, very yucky. It has virtually no odour to it, so I don't normally wear a mask. I don't know whether it recommends to, but it's yeah, there's no odour, so there's no trouble there. So all right, I'll come back in a couple of hours when that's set up, and we'll show you hopefully a good first casting. All right, we're an hour or two since we've poured, well, a couple of hours, 2 hours past we poured this first body. I can't wait any longer. I'll have to have a look. If it's still soft, I can tell, and I'll just leave it in there a bit longer, but I just want to check for air bubbles and all that sort of stuff. Here's this Premier seat that we did earlier out of the leftovers. See? Beautiful. Minimal cleanup, just a little bit of sand around the bottom, and that's good to go. All right, here we go. Okay, now I can't see any, there's one tiny little air bubble there, that's all good, but there's no great big voids along the sides where air's got in. Everything else looks great, so all that just peels away, easy peasy. Yeah, it's still soft, so we'll leave that in there for a bit longer. Out. Leave it in there a bit longer, but it all looks good. I don't see any issues. We'll find out once we pull it out, but that'll be a little bit longer. Just have to be patient. That's my worst thing. I'm not patient. All right, so that's all. Looks all good. All right, I'll back in a bit. We'll now attempt to remove this bad boy from the mould. Looks pretty good, as I said before. One thing I forgot to mention too, before I put the resin in, I put a bit of talcum powder in both the bottom and the top. It helps to get rid of all these little bits of garbage around here, and also helps with release. So, all right, here we go. Just give it a good separation as best as you can. Try not to be too there we go. And there we have it. Well, looks pretty good. There's windows. That's the thing I like about doing the moulds the way I do. That's it. Windows are out. All right, now do have an air bubble there. I wouldn't sell the body like this, but I can fix that in about a minute, and that's perfectly good to use. Right, all inside the grill's nice and clean. There's no air bubbles or anything in there. No like lumps of resin or anything that I need to clean out. That's a quick, like, seriously, to clean this body up before sanding for paint is probably, looks like a little air bubble there, that's easy fixed up. Be about 5 minutes. Clean it up, then sand it, paint it, and done. That'll be the next step. To fix things like this, I just cut it out nice and square, and I've always got a bit of spare resin around the place somewhere. Super glue it in, sand it. Resin is beautiful to sand, doesn't ghost back like plastic does once you've sanded it. And you're good to go. So there we go. There's your first body out of your new mould. Pretty happy with that. Yeah, like a little bit of cleanup there, but that's seriously 5 minutes to whip around with a file, knife file, whatever you want to do. Whip around the windows, give it a nice clean up. Bit of sandpaper along the edges there. I usually use a Dremel in my wheel arches. Just give it a quick go around. That's the Dremel I use. Big bugger. It's cordless. I had a little nice handheld one. It died on me after about 10 years. How dare it? Probably get it fixed, but anyway. So yeah, that's the Dremel. Just Dremel inside the wheel arches, open them up a little bit. You can get the tyres in nicely. Although this body's pretty good, so you just give it like 2 seconds in there with the Dremel. And that's it. All right, next video will be, I'm not going to bore you with sanding and all that sort of stuff. Not sure where we'll go with that. But anyway, there's your first body. We have success. All right. Don't forget, please like and subscribe and share my videos. And see you soon. Thank you.